Why won't that donor respond to my emails or phone calls? I've tried everything. What can I do next? We will answer those questions during this episode of the Dang It Dave podcast. Stay tuned for the bonus tip at the end. Thanks for joining us for today's Dang It Dave podcast. Be sure to connect and subscribe on YouTube or iTunes. If you would like to hear more, head over to boldleading.com where nonprofit leaders get real answers. Hey, this is Dave Senna, and I want to really say thank you for joining us for this Dang It Dave podcast. In this episode, we're talking about some of the frustrations you may have as a major gift officer, as an executive director, trying to approach people to give major gifts. I know getting the appointment is really tough, and after you've made an ask, what's even tougher sometimes is waiting for a response from a donor. Sometimes it could turn weeks into months that you're not hearing from them. You've sent email, follow-up text, and still nothing going on. This is where some advice from my mentor, Jim Holdman, that used to tell me that you just don't know what's going on in the mind of a donor, or in their life for that matter, and they may have every intention to get back to you and may actually be weighing on them, and they may even feel very guilty. But life has it that they are not able to get back to you, and you're low on sort of their attention scale. And this happened recently working with a client that had approached a donor in April, and here it is at the end of October. The donors finally followed up and said, I'm really sorry for not getting back to you. I've been traveling so much, and I still want to do what we talked about. So they asked more questions about the original ask, and they eventually were able to raise about $25,000 for an upcoming event, and they're possibly going to get another gift for another $25,000. Now, if they had really gotten frustrated and really asked that donor really embarrassing questions like, why haven't you called us back? What's going on? At this particular meeting, they may not have gotten those gifts. But instead, they were just kind of, hey, it's really great to see you. We really appreciate you getting back to us, and hope you're doing really well. They had a really nice conversation, and were able to secure the gift despite it being asked for in April, and it's now October. So one of the things I tell major gift officer executive directors is all the hard work that you put into spring and the summer, you may not see any results of that until the fall when people are making big decisions about where to give their dollars. And so don't be surprised that you make a pitch to a donor in, say, March or April, like this particular client, and then all of a sudden it's late October. I remember one time I was talking to a donor and just telling them about the organization, asking if they would consider giving, and they asked the question, when was the last time that we gave? And I said, well, it's actually been 2 years. And they said, no, it hasn't been 2 years. I think it's only been a year. And we were sort of both right and wrong. It had been 18 months. But in the mind of this donor, it had been just recently that they had given. And so you just never know what people think about your organization. They may have assumed they've given very recently, and maybe it's been over a year. So that's why having a system of getting a hold with donors, systematic process. We do it weekly. We call it a donor connection meeting. And you can email or ask us about that. We'd love to get information to you about it. But the key point is that you want to make sure that you have a systematic way to connect with donors. Don't be surprised if they don't respond back to you like you'd like. They have lives that are very busy. They're making money. They're doing things for their family, their businesses. And as the fall rolls around, don't be surprised when some of these donors you've talked to in the spring and summer start reaching out to you saying, hey, I want to pick up that conversation that we had early in the year. I've still been thinking about you guys. I've just been really busy, and I'd like to give now. And so if you always stay humble and sweet about these things, your donors will really appreciate it, and you might just see some really big gifts coming in your organization. If you have any questions about how to solicit major gifts or deal with the major gift program, we'd love to help you. One of the things I've been doing over 10 years with our last organization, and for over the last 4 or 5 years with other organizations, of helping them develop major gift programs that are simple and successful. So check us out at boldlegion.com. Reach out to me via email or give me a call. I'd love to talk to you more about this. Hey, this is a bonus tip. And the bonus tip is you got to be creative sometimes when you're trying to follow up with donors. So you might send a postcard. Maybe it's what I call a photo card. So actually go to Walmart, print out some really cool photos of your organization that tell your story and write thank you on it and mail it to a donor. You just never know what will capture their heart and get them to respond. Sometimes I've stopped at their business for about a minute and a half with a little thank you card and say, hey, just wanted to stop by, say thank you. I really appreciate you meeting me last time and wanted to just see how you're doing and drop off a thank you card. Really appreciate what you're doing for the organization. So you might be kind of mix a little, being a little adventurous or aggressive in how you try to connect with particular donors, and then also be very gracious, maybe a thank you card, drop off maybe some, I don't know, cookies or donuts for their office, whatever it may be, but be very creative in how you make some of these connections. And that's your bonus tip for this Dang It Dave episode 004, and we'd love for you to subscribe on YouTube to this podcast or on iTunes, and let us know what you think of this podcast. If you have other questions, let us know. We'd love to be a part of answering those questions and help you make successful fundraising simple. Thank you for joining us with this episode of the Dang It Dave podcast, where nonprofit leaders get real answers. Join the conversation on our social channels or get in contact with us via email or a phone call. We hope to talk to you soon.